to announce the indictment and arrest of Wendy and Edward Osefo.
Imagine filing a police report for thousands of dollars in stolen designer handbags, only for detectives to find the receipts showing you returned them to the store for a refund before the burglary even happened. Prosecutors say that is exactly what Real Housewives of Potomac star Dr. Wendy Osefo did. But the fake burglary might be the least of her problems. With 40 secret credit cards and strange names appearing in her financial records, the big question isn't just about the handbags. It's who is Pam Oliver? And why do prosecutors say this alias proves the entire Osefo empire was built on a lie? October 2025 should have been just another month of glamour and drama for Dr. Wendy Osefo. Instead, it became the month her entire world came crashing down. The Real Housewives of Potomac star and her husband Eddie weren't just facing cameras anymore. They were facing handcuffs, mugshots, and allegations so explosive that even her co-stars couldn't have scripted them. What prosecutors are now claiming about the couple has left fans stunned, and the evidence they're presenting paints a picture nobody saw coming. For years, Dr. Wendy Osefo sold America a dream. She wasn't just another reality TV personality chasing 15 minutes of fame. She had the degrees, the career, the family, everything that screamed success. A political commentator with multiple degrees, including a PhD, Wendy joined Real Housewives of Potomac in 2020 and quickly became known for her sharp tongue and even sharper wardrobe. She flaunted designer bags like trophies, wore jewelry that could fund a small business, and lived a lifestyle that millions watched with equal parts admiration and envy. Her husband Eddie, a successful attorney, seemed like the perfect partner in this picture of achievement. Together, they raised 3 children while building what appeared to be an empire of success. They were living proof that you could have it all. The education, the career, the luxury, the fame. But behind those designer labels and Instagram posts, prosecutors now say there was something far darker brewing. April 2024 started like any other glamorous chapter in the Osefo story. Wendy and Eddie jetted off to Jamaica, documenting their tropical getaway for their followers like any good reality star would. Sun, sand, luxury, the perfect escape. But when they returned home, they reported something terrible had happened. Their house had been burglarized. Not just any burglary either. This was the kind of theft that makes headlines. Designer handbags worth thousands, jewelry pieces that sparkled in paparazzi photos. All of it allegedly gone, stolen while they were living their best lives on a Caribbean beach. They filed an insurance claim, did everything you're supposed to do when you're victimized. The local police showed up, took the report, and began what should have been a straightforward investigation into a break-in. For 18 months, the Osefos say they heard nothing. Silence. They cooperated fully, asked for updates, and got nothing in return. What they didn't know was that investigators were quietly digging into something that would flip this entire narrative on its head. Here's where this story takes a turn nobody expected. While the Osefos waited for justice, detectives were piecing together a timeline that didn't quite add up. They started pulling receipts, literally, purchase records, return records, transaction after transaction, that told a very different story than the one presented in that burglary report. What they discovered was explosive. Several of those stolen designer items, the bags and jewelry that were supposedly taken by burglars, had been purchased and then refunded before the alleged break-in even happened. Let that sink in for a moment. Items that were claimed as stolen in an insurance report had already been returned to stores. They were never in the house during the burglary because they'd already been sent back for refunds. But the insurance claim? That still listed them as stolen property. Prosecutors saw this pattern and realized they weren't looking at a simple burglary case anymore. They were looking at potential fraud. But the investigators weren't done digging. What they uncovered next made those questionable purchases look like child's play. Court documents filed by prosecutors revealed something that sent shockwaves through the case. Approximately 40 credit and debit cards linked to the Osefo household. 40 cards? Not just under Wendy and Eddie's names, but scattered across business accounts and, according to prosecutors, under aliases too. 2 names kept appearing in these financial records: Pam Oliver and Eddie Hennessy. Prosecutors claim these weren't legitimate business contacts or family members. They allege these were aliases, fake identities created to mask the true holders of these accounts. In their court filings reviewed by the Baltimore Banner, prosecutors stated this was a deliberate attempt to mask their identity. What do you think is going to happen next? Let me know in the comments below. And if you're enjoying the story so far, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more. Okay, now back to the story. The implications were staggering. If true, this wasn't just about one questionable insurance claim. This was about a systematic pattern of financial behavior that prosecutors believed pointed to something much bigger. The prosecution isn't holding back. They're painting a picture of a couple drowning in debt, desperately trying to maintain an image of wealth while the walls closed in around them. According to court documents, prosecutors stated that insurance fraud is fundamentally a financial crime, and the amount of debt owed by the Osefos, jointly, individually, and through their businesses, is highly relevant to establishing motive. They're arguing for access to even more financial records, claiming they need to demonstrate a pattern of excessive spending. Think about what that means. The designer bags, the jewelry, the luxury lifestyle broadcast to millions? Prosecutors are saying it was all built on a foundation of debt and desperation. The state expects their documentation to show excessive spending that supports the motive for insurance fraud. This wasn't about one bad decision or one mistaken claim. This was allegedly about a lifestyle spiraling out of control and a couple willing to cross lines to keep up appearances. October 9th and 10th marked the days everything came crashing down. Dr. Wendy Osefo and Eddie Osefo were arrested, booked, and charged with 16 criminal counts. 7 of those charges are felonies, each one tied to allegations of providing false or misleading information in a fraud scheme valued at over $300. These aren't minor infractions or misdemeanors that get plea bargained away. These are serious felonies that carry real prison time if convicted. For a reality TV star who built her brand on education, success, and achievement, and for an attorney whose entire career depends on his reputation, these charges represent an existential threat. Everything they worked for, everything they presented to the world, now hangs in the balance of a criminal trial. But the Osefos aren't going down without a fight. Eddie's attorney, Joseph Murtha, fired back at prosecutors with a blistering response, claiming they're looking for something they haven't figured out after 18 months of investigating. The couple's legal team released a joint statement on Instagram that didn't just defend their clients, it went on the offensive. They claimed the police failed to properly investigate the initial burglary, despite clear indications of a break-in, and they're alleging bias against the Osefo family from the very beginning. Their statement pointed out something interesting. Other Real Housewives cast members have been victimized after documenting their travels on social media, yet none of them faced criminal charges or this level of scrutiny. Why were the Osefos treated differently? Their lawyers are suggesting something darker at play here, that this isn't about justice, it's about targeting a high-profile black family. The defense didn't stop there. They called up the sheriff's office and the state's attorney for Carroll County for publicly exposing confidential financial information about Wendy and Eddie. In their view, this wasn't proper procedure. This was a public shaming campaign. And here's where their argument gets really interesting. They claim the state appears to have begun investigating only after charging the Osefos. Think about that for a second. Typically, you investigate thoroughly, gather your evidence, and then file charges. But the defense is saying it happened backwards here. Charges first, investigation second. They're calling it a highly irregular approach that raises serious concerns about motive and fairness. And as for those aliases prosecutors keep mentioning, the Osefos flat out deny them. Their statement was crystal clear. The Osefos have never used an alias on any financial application. This allegation is false and misleading. So where does this leave us? Two versions of reality are colliding in a Maryland courtroom, and only one can be true. On one side, prosecutors are building a case that suggests a couple living beyond their means, allegedly using dozens of cards under questionable names, purchasing and returning luxury items, then claiming them stolen to cash in on insurance money. They're painting a picture of financial desperation hidden behind Instagram filters and reality TV glamour. On the other side, the Osefos and their legal team are crying foul, alleging bias, improper investigation, and public character smittishment without proper cause. They're positioning themselves as victims twice over. First, of an actual burglary that police allegedly failed to properly investigate, and now of an overzealous prosecution motivated by their celebrity status. The truth likely lies somewhere in those financial records prosecutors are fighting to access. Those 40 cards, those purchase and return patterns, the timeline of when items were bought and refunded versus when they were reported stolen, all of it will be examined under the harsh light of legal scrutiny. The Osefos are due back in court on December 2nd, and that date could mark the beginning of a trial that exposes just how much debt they were carrying, how they were managing it, and whether their insurance claim crossed the line from unfortunate mistake to criminal fraud. What makes this story so captivating isn't just the fall from grace, it's what it represents. How many people are living similar lives right now, projecting wealth and success on social media while drowning in debt behind closed doors? How much of what we see from influencers and reality stars is real versus carefully curated fiction designed to maintain sponsorships and relevance? The Osefos built a brand on having it all, and now prosecutors are saying the price tag for maintaining that image became too high. Whether they're guilty or innocent, their case has already exposed something uncomfortable about the pressure to perform wealth in the age of social media. Dr. Wendy Osefo walked on to Real Housewives of Potomac as a professor, a commentator, a woman with credentials that set her apart from the typical reality TV fare. She was supposed to be different, more educated, more accomplished, more legitimate. But if prosecutors are right, she became exactly what she claimed to be above. Another person willing to bend rules to maintain an image. And if the defense is right, she's a victim of a system that treated her differently because of who she is and what she represents. 16 charges, 7 felonies, 40 cards, 2 alleged aliases, 1 burglary report, and 2 people whose entire futures hang in the balance. The Osefos maintain their innocence, and in America, they're presumed innocent until proven guilty. But the court of public opinion doesn't wait for verdicts, and the damage to their reputations has already been done. Whether they walk out of that December courtroom vindicated or convicted, their lives have been forever changed by allegations that pulled back the curtain on what may have been happening behind all those designer bags and Caribbean vacations. The case continues to develop, and with each new filing, each new revelation, the story gets more complex. What started as a simple burglary report has become a sprawling investigation into finances, identity, motive, and truth. And somewhere in that tangle of credit cards, insurance claims, and legal arguments lies the answer to the question everyone's asking. Were the Osefos victims of a crime, and then victims of an unjust prosecution? Or were they architects of a fraud scheme that finally caught up with them? December 2nd might start giving us those answers. But one thing is already certain. The fall of Dr. Wendy Osefo is a cautionary tale about the price of maintaining appearances in a world that watches your every move. Thanks for sticking with me until the end. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like this video, subscribe for more content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. I'll see you in the next one.